afternoon to you. Many thanks for joining us on the program Flipside. I'm your host, Oluije Oikohai. Today on Flipside, we'll be looking at an important topic to the younger generation, to those persons that feel that they are elderly, yes, to our elder ones, and of course to our fathers, our mothers, our brothers, our sisters, everyone around us. It's actually important for us to know that this day we'll be talking about World Book Day and Copyright Day. And to do justice to that for us, we have our panelists here with us in the studio. We have Mr. Sonny Love, I hope I need to get this right now. Ekere Kere. Yes. Okay, he is a lecturer of the Department of Mass Communication, Uniben. Good afternoon, sir.
Very good afternoon.
And thank you for making out time to come to the studio today.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have Udeji Felicia.
Yes.
She is a student of the University of Benin. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
And our uncle, our friend, and my friend, he is the person of Destiny Owobo. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, yeah, we'll be talking about World Book Day and, of course, Copyright Day. We want to know the reason why the United Nations has decided to, set out this day to educate us more, to enlighten us more on the need for us to go back to our forewords, to go back to the reason why these things have been established. Now, first off, we want to ask the reason or the meaning of copyright to our lecturer, the person of Sunday.
Okay, thank you very much. And once again, good afternoon, viewers. Copyright is a law that is put in place to guide and protect intellectual properties of individuals that have engaged in any form of creative work, such as books, music, videos, sculpture, ceramics, and anything that has to do with creativity. So it is aimed at protecting their intellectual property.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, to Destiny now, we want to know, why is this day set aside? We know the United Nations, they don't just come along to say a day should be set aside if that particular thing is not important to the society, to the country, to the world at large. So why is this day being set aside? World Book Day and Copyright Day.
Yeah, first of all, we must say, there's a lot of researches that connect life outcomes to the reading culture of people.
Yeah.
Okay, I read about a study about 4 years ago where they ranked country according to a number of books they have in their private libraries and outcomes, economic outcomes. The research put Austria, Switzerland, Luxembourg, and the most richest countries at the top. And then countries that were poor were at the bottom. So it's a direct correlation between the amount of books people read in a society and their life outcomes. There's a direct connection, very strong positive correlation between the reading culture of people and their life outcomes. This is because, let's put it this way, there are 7.5 billion people on earth right now. And these 7.5 billion people, let's assume that you put each of them in a book, so that this book will have 7.5 billion pages. You are just one of those pages. Now, for a person who doesn't read, who uses his experiences to learn about life, he has spent all his life on page 1 of a book of 7.5 billion pages. So they gave you a book to read, 7.5 billion pages, and then you spent all your lifetime on page 1. You are using your life, your experiences, and your cosmology of the world to interpret reality. But of course, there are 7.5 billion people, and these people have ideas about the world from where they stand. So a person who does not read is limited in experience because he doesn't have the capabilities to understand how other people read, think, what are possible in the world of humanity, and so many other things. So for the world, for the United Nations to have dedicated a day to it, it shows that reading is a very, very important and a viable part of what it means to be modern and human nowadays.
Okay, you have edited from Destiny. Reading is an important and integral part of our living, and of course we should learn how to actually in one day, yes, if it's like 1 or 2 books, get yourself acquainted with something meaningful. Anyway, today's theme happens to be read so you never feel alone. Now I want to ask Felicia, do you feel the reading culture is still something that used to be way back when you were in your kindergarten age, seeing your elder ones reading? Do you still feel that reading culture is still in practice?
Well, I'll say that the reading culture over the years has evolved in the sense that I won't say it has increased, because if we look at it generally now, youth, we no longer read the way it used to be then. I used to be engaged in clubs, reading clubs, even competitions for reading. But nowadays, it's not so. Majority of our generations, we are more engaged in social media activities than reading. We find reading boring, so to say. We prefer to go for entertainment. We prefer to, even if we're reading, majority of us just read for pleasure and read for the sake of passing exams. Not how it used to be, reading to gain knowledge. Because we feel that reading is difficult, so to say. It's difficult.
Okay, now remember during the pandemic era where students, they were at home for a long time, and anytime we hear the ASU strike and all of that, but we don't find students going to the libraries to go, enhance themselves and all of that. We find them maybe going to learn one skill or the other. We're not saying it's something that is wrong, but I want to ask now, as a lecturer, Mr. Sunnylove, why don't we find students, maybe during the holidays and all of that, going to, get more knowledge? Why do we find them in, maybe they want to learn catering, they want to, those different skill acquisitions?
The reason is because we've halted somewhere in our process of learning. We no longer feel that reading is important, just like the last speaker have said. Some of us even think that education is a scam. And so the only way is how to just make money. So one of the reasons why we have poor reading culture is because of the fact that we are losing it. Our orientation is becoming faulty. We are not seeing book as important anymore. And essentially, a few of us know that books are the voices of distant places, and they are the only way through which inferior minds can have intercourse with superior minds. And because we don't longer know that there are a lot of information embedded in books, we just want to do it the way we feel like doing it, and we just want to follow the trend. So that is one of the reasons. And we also have this crave for materialism, and our social re-engineering has been thwarted. And we just want to go to school to get the certificate and not necessarily to acquire functional knowledge.
Okay, now that's where you hear some persons say you went through school, but school did not go through you.
I also want to add to that. In terms of the reasons why we don't read again as youths, I also attribute it to the educational system in the country. Because if we look at the way the educational system is more of theoretical rather than practical. You go to school and what you learn is just to read, la cram, la pour. You read basically because if you don't read, you fail your exams.
I tell you.
Not because of the fact that you have something, a research to like delve into, like a practical research. Like if you look at our educational system, there is this negligence in the practical aspects. And there is no way as a student you want to go deeper to research about a particular topic when you know that the basic purpose of being taught that topic is just for the exams. It's just for exams. Assuming our educational system has advanced to the level that whatever you are taught in school, you practicalize it, I believe students will be more engaged in reading.
Okay, now Destiny.
Yeah, I personally think we're not dealing with the problem. Reading has not really dropped. People still read. what has simply happened is technology has altered what we now call reading.
Reading culture.
We have several senses,
Yeah.
okay? And with technology, human beings are bombarded by images nowadays, okay? The attention span has dropped because those days, if you are reading a book, you have to turn it, but now you can just swipe. So the amount of information available to an average person now in a day was not available to somebody who lived 50 years ago in the entire 20 years. Facebook, Twitter, these are bombardments. So the average human being now is actually more intelligent than the human being of the past. And one thing about human beings is that if you give them information in a very simple way, they catch it better than if you give it. Books, first of all, must notice, reading is not a natural activity. We are not created to read. We're created to search for knowledge. Now, reading was the only pragmatic way of delivering information from one person to another. So people were reading. So if you check the reading culture in the last 400 years, you know that people were reading. But when visual content was developed, so that you can pass knowledge using visuals, using sounds, using different mediums, the average human being also evolved. To see people now sit down, read a book of 4,000 pages, first of all, it doesn't align with the modern mind. Because now you can deliver big complex things in snippets of videos. There's a Chinese proverb that says, show me a picture and I'll show you 1,000 words. Okay, a picture captures a lot more than words written on a script. Okay, so what needs to happen is that book writers, people who convey information, must adapt their methods to the minds of the modern man. So those books have to be made smaller, made more engaging. I'll give you an example. If you are trying to learn how to drive, there are so many ways to learn how to drive. One, read it in a book. Two, play a game that involves you driving. Then three, get into a car and drive. If you give that to 4,000 people to practice, I assure you, a huge majority of them would like to handle it. Okay?
Practice.
So reading is just one way of transferring information. You can transfer information by doing. For example, if you play a video game, I learned how to drive by playing a game. So the day I actually got into the experience of driving, it took me only 30 minutes to drive a car. I've been driving it all my life. I mean, I'm so emotionally connected to the game that when I saw the car, it didn't take me more than 1 hour to get engaged. Now try and read how to drive a car in the book. It takes you 3 months to read and understand what you're talking about. So, but what is lacking now is that when you get information very easily, you also lose it very easily. So what's happening to the modern world, because they get information easily at high speed, the rate at which they assimilate it and transmit it to their long-term memory has also dropped, so that they know quickly and forget quickly. So if you get knowledge difficult, you also keep it more than if you got it easier. So what's happening now is that somebody can get a lot of things today by reading, but tomorrow he has forgotten, he has moved on to the next. You keep swiping knowledge. I know this one, I move to this. But those days, people take time to read a book of 400 pages. When you take your time chapter to chapter, your brain wires it 360 and keeps it more. And the person simply gets it in images and things like that. So what has changed is simply a paradigm shift in the way we appreciate information. I must tell you, if you notice, the world is getting smarter, not duller, to show that that's not the problem. In fact, there's a problem we are not dealing with. Reading, there's something we call illiteracy. Illiteracy is an ability to read in a particular language. The problem we are facing is alliteracy, not illiteracy. Illiteracy is knowing how to read, but not enjoying reading, and not trying to read in the first place. Okay, when I was a student, I used to read a lot. I read and read and read. But guess what? The thing has even gotten to me now. I hardly have time to read a big script now. But what do? I subscribe to a lot of snippet materials. I get the information quick. And I notice that these young people are facing the same problems too. So like my lady said, you only read for exam. You have to read for a particular purpose. You don't read to like the way it was before, where you have to read and read and read. So it's okay, the exam is next week. Let me just read this material.
So let's go back with the timetable.
Yes. So what I suggest should be happening is that the writers should also evolve. I mean, the people who pass information should also evolve to more graphic content, more video content, more snippet content, because you can deliver any complex knowledge in simple ways. You know, so we must, as writers, as authors, develop a way to send our information to these minds the way they want it. Okay. So if you check modern books now from abroad, if you check modern books, there's a lot of images to illustrate books nowadays. Those days you have to see chapter 1, chapter 2, table 1, table. But if you check most books now, they'll just highlight some points, quick points, so I get the ideas quickly, and then you get to it. So we must evolve. I mean, society must evolve.
Okay. Now, Sunny Love, as a lecturer and a publisher, so what do you have to say concerning writing being evolved, getting, to the new trend in town, getting to the new trend of, as students, some students will say, oh, reading is tedious. So as a publisher, what's your responsibility to get these books out there and in a simplified way?
Okay, I think efforts are being made to ensure that books are put in the simplest terms, just like the last speaker has emphasized. A lot of us have started using a lot of illustrations, apart from journals, where you have to go in depth and use some technical languages and structures that are peculiar to a particular group. Okay. Depending on your target audience, the content is actually a reflection of your target audience. If your audience are children, for instance, the way you write for them is different from the way you are going to write for youth and all that. So you first of all look at the audience and you look at the purpose why you are writing. These are some of the variables that influence how books are written and are published. Okay. The most important thing I want to stress here is that when you read, you bury yourself and you are able to assimilate as fast as possible, and what you have read will become part of you than when you just flip through. So that is why some persons are making it the mistake. They just believe that they just want to flip through it very fast and get the nitty-gritty without what they have read being part of them. Yeah. It ought to be part of you so that you'll be able to recall it and so that you'll be able to use it in the practical terms. But generally, it is the audience that affect the way author puts their books together. And these are some of the things that affect and influence writing for the general public. Okay, so as a lecturer, why do students just read so they can pass? It is because of the get it quick syndrome. People don't want to pass through the tediousness of actually burying their heads in the books and assimilating the raw data, the information, and storing them. They just want to read and write the exam and pass. And when you ask them, what is this? After some time, or even maybe immediately after the exam, just give them 1 week or two, and you ask them, what do you understand by this concept? They won't be able to recall it because they just read to pass. And that is one of the disadvantages of reading to pass. You are supposed to know what you have read, what you have studied, and what makes it, the only way that you can make it part of you is to actually read the content and assimilate it. Yes, and that is one of the characteristics that makes book unique as different from other media of mass communication. Book is permanent. Information is stored there and can be retrieved. So because of the permanency and the durability, you can easily go there as a repertoire of knowledge and draw from books and try to internalize what they have written in relation to your personal experience and see how you can reproduce it when the time comes. Okay. So I think that students should develop, to learn something new is not easy, and to believe that you can just get it in a flip and at the end you won't be able to use it at the end of the day. You cannot change whatever you have studied under that environment into practical terms because it's not part of you. So you need to be able to know what you're doing by actually studying the phenomenon, being part of it, and your ability to reproduce it now gives you an edge and makes you someone that have already know that particular thing that you have read. But it's not just enough for you to just flip through. That is just getting information. We are not studying. The difference between studying and reading, yes.
As a student, I would like to react to this because we are the major consumers of these books. And if we look at it, most books are not engaging. you find out that reading books is tedious. You'll be reading through one page and you spend hours trying to understand the vocabulary used. The way our generation is, we prefer to be communicated to in a simplified manner, not using vocabulary that are so advanced that you have to go check the dictionary over and over again, trying to understand it. So I feel that it also boils down to the authors. The authors are not making these things easy for us students. When you are writing a book, try to bring it down to our level. Yes, we know that then people were more advanced in terms of use of vocabulary, but now we want a simplified version of books, a simplified way in which you can easily grasp what the author or the message the author is trying to pass across, not having to go through dictionaries. So it also boils down to the authors giving information in a simplified manner, and that is where the education system still comes into play.
Please, I want to react to that. There are times that you cannot just do without using technical language. Yeah. I want to teach broadcasting, for instance, and how to use the camera. I must use palm left. The terms. Palm left, palm right, zoom in, zoom out, dolly in, dolly out, tip down, tip up. I must use those structures. And for someone that is just coming in as a student, you must learn those structures. So when you say, these structures are too technical for me, that is part of the learning process. That is what makes that particular study unique to you as an individual that is studying that particular field. So I quite agree that simplicity is good, but there are times that you cannot just do without using those technical languages. In every field of human endeavor, you must ensure that you use those technical language. And the person that is studying should also be aware and know those technical language, because you cannot substitute them for anything. Okay, those are the different terminologies. Yes, the terminology used in different fields. Okay, now, actually when I was preparing this program, now someone talked about our libraries. Do we still have functioning libraries that students can actually go to and, you know, read their books and collect materials? Now someone said the books in the libraries are outdated. So I want to know, as old heads, old hands, so we want to know, do we still have libraries? And starting from you, the University of Benin, the library system, how is it like? Yeah, in the University of Benin, for instance, we have a library, and the library is, we have one at the Ubowa campus and one at the Ekewan campus. Okay, are they up to date? Are they up to standards? The truth is that no Nigerian university library is up to standard. Okay, why? Because we don't have new books. Yes, many of these libraries are lacking new books. We're even supposed to have the electronic version of these books. In some of these universities, you don't find the electronic version. They're the soft copy, the soft version of these books. And apart from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, that is connected to the internet, they have a library. I don't think we have an University of Ibadan and the ABU Zaria. Few universities have this electronic version. So and that is because people have not actually paid premium to the importance of books. You say, I was saddened when I heard that even a library was demolished in Edo State and replaced for something else. And I begin to wonder, books are the custodian of culture, and there is nothing like a dated book. Because you can go down, if you want to know your history, you have to know where you are coming from. And over the years, you will see how books have fostered civilization and so on and so forth. And so you want to draw from the experiences of the past to work on your present and focus the future. So you need even those old books to be able to know where you are coming from. So destroying them is not actually the best, but be as it may, we don't have a functional library in Nigeria. And I want to use this opportunity to appeal to the government to ensure that books are being provided for our institutions, from the primary down to the tertiary levels. Okay, now Justin, I love the way you've been smiling. Sure, talking library.
Yes, the truth, I'm I'm a futurist, and because of that, I tend not to. Let's look at something. There is what we call an encyclopedia that has information.
Yeah.
With a click of a mouse now, you can get 1 billion pages of materials. As I speak to you now, almost 4 billion people in the world have mobile phones.
Yeah.
And out of these 4 billion phones, over 2.5 are smartphones.
Okay.
So that you can just click and get any book. Now, if a lot of people are having access to internet technology and information, then libraries, brick and mortar libraries, are becoming a relic of the past.
Okay.
My smartphone is there. I have over 6,000 books in that smartphone, all downloaded. I don't go to a physical library, and a lot of people don't do that anymore. So what should happen is that society should evolve. We should not be, libraries are means to an end. They are not, they were invented in an era where people did not have access to quick books. Now you have Google. Google has billions of pages of any material you want. You have Wikipedia. It's there. Anything you want, if you want to get the up-to-date information today, click your phone, you get it there. So what should happen is that all Nigerian universities, all academic institutions should upgrade. Now, if they cannot build physical libraries, they can connect to online libraries worldwide. You can have contracts with Harvard and other universities who have already gone online, and then find a way to connect students to be able to have international exchange of ideas. It is superior because most of these students live in their mobile phones right now. Look at this young lady here. She's carrying a mobile phone. If she was born 50 years ago, she'll be here with a small book. Okay? So when the society is moving, we must move as a people. We must move. We must understand that something is not useful because it is there. It is useful because people use it.
Okay.
Okay? Something is not useful because it is there. It is useful because people use it. The value of anything is proportional to the amount of people who use it. Okay? Once you understand that concept, we must focus on what we are missing when we don't have the library. Are we missing information? In fact, this is the information age. This is they call it information age. Human beings now value more information than in the past. Billions of data are moving around every day for people to get information. People actually want to get information now more than in the past. What is the problem is adapting technologies and teaching styles to the way these people want this information delivered. I applied to a program recently in the US, a full master's program, and it is online. I downloaded an app. I did a master's degree program in the University of Benin too. I must tell you the experience. With the digital app, it is more engaging. I got more information. I got more results. I kept more information more. With a simple app, the thing plays with your mind. It's a simple algorithm designed. It replaces all your teachers, it replaces everything, gives you video content, physical content. But your lecturers are still a part of, they are important in transferring information. But the world has evolved. We are trying to get into online information where people don't need a physical teacher to teach them. If they are doing that in other countries, what we should be doing is adapting quickly. Students want to learn. We must debunk that idea that they don't want to. Like a student just talked about. But the way it is transferred. When I was a University of Benin student, I remember one time when I was teaching tutorials, and then one girl was finding it difficult to understand what I was teaching. And then one boy in the class got angry and said, "Come, your head is blocked. How did you get to University of Benin?" And somehow, as a student, I stopped the class and I asked the boy some questions. And I said, "You are an economist, right?" I said, "Define economics using pidgin English." And then the boy could not do that. And I said, "That's your most dominant language, but you can define it in English language, but you cannot define it in pidgin." That's because you don't understand the concept actually. Now, what is happening is this: although things are complex, we can use jargons certain times. It's very important. We must understand that the jargons are only useful if it is understood. Once you understand that, then there should be a table of jargons. Before you teach a person something, start with the jargons first and say these are the jargons first. Let the person know that the jargons are not the important thing. It is the knowledge of the jargons that are important. And so that people, because you don't expect people to approach a subject from the jargon. They approach it from a desire first. Now, if jargons, if you check foreign books, they'll tell you these words, they will explain the words first, so that before you start reading, you'll be able to understand what the words are up to. It's not natural for us to be reading the jargons, so we must make it easy. I'll give you an example. Why is it that drugs are always bitter? And then, because they are bitter, what do? A, we chew them, or B, we take them with water. We take them with water.
Yes.
In my case, I take them with
You take them with
soft drinks. Yes.
Human beings find a way to make things easier. When I was small, I would put them inside a bar and to take it. So when something is bitter, human beings evolve ways to make it easier for themselves.
Sure.
So that's an analogy. Nobody says drugs are bad. They are not bad, they are bitter. We don't know why they are bitter. But we find a way to network that.
Yeah.
Now question, imagine if a scientist can simply make the drug sweet. You make billions from that.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
you don't blame the person taking the drugs for not taking things that are bitter. You blame yourself for not being able to make it
Sweeter.
for the person to take.
Yeah.
So as academics, as educators, it is our responsibility to transfer information to these people in the language they understand, not the language we understand.
Okay.
I learned economics in complex language, but when I'm teaching it, I know these people, this generation of people, they don't understand complex language. So I try to use their language. Sometimes
Simplify.
I use pidgin to transfer the information. I want to explain what money is. Instead of saying money is anything generally accepted, it's too complex. Why not just say money is something we use to exchange goods and services? I mean, something that is accepted by
Buy
many
and
people.
sell.
You can say it in a very simple way that makes it more natural. Okay? So our job should be simplifying this knowledge in a way that somebody does not need to burn too much energy to get the gist of the material.
Okay.
And that's where teachers come in.
All right. So are we now saying that in as much as we are trying to simplify the way, the teaching method, the books and everything, are we saying now that this generation cannot absorb stronger materials? Are we saying that the reading culture is gradually dying down in the production or the invent of technology and the likes? Now we find in those days, we find people reading. The reading culture was massive. You find them reading, but right now you want to read, in a twinkling of an eye, you just go to your phone and you check, oh, something's happening on Instagram, or something's happening on Facebook, and you tend to forget about what you were doing initially. Now, are we trying to say that at the advent of technology, making things simplified and all, now we can't actually inculcate that old-time reading culture to our children? I remember way back when we were on holidays, my dad would give me like 2 to 3 books. Hey, you must finish this assignment for today. You must read this novel for today. So do we still have that reading culture for our parents? Maybe right now they're on holidays, giving the children things to do and all of that. So are we saying in a nutshell that the older generation had, you know, thicker memory or something to absorb these technologies than the ones we are having now?
No, I don't think, like I said, the present generation is smarter than the older generation.
Okay.
It's smarter. Look at it, look at the world. Is it not smarter than the past? Who built it? These young people.
Okay, so why is the United Nations saying we need to know that books are in existence?
You know the problem? The
Yeah.
problem is not books that's problem. The problem is reading. Because, like I told you, if information is, we have what we call information bombardment.
Yeah.
Those days, there's a bigger problem now, information overload. You are trying to read one thing, and then there's ping somewhere. Okay, there's a psychological disease that's called FOMO, fear of missing out. So people wake up in the morning and the first thing their mind goes to is Facebook.
Yeah.
Then from
Instagram.
Facebook they go to Twitter, from Twitter to Instagram. I mean, the rate at which you move from one sphere to another sphere has reduced so fast. So what we need to do is to teach our children how to control themselves. It's a discipline problem. It's a discipline problem. Even me, I find it difficult to read nowadays. So if I want to do something very serious, I give myself time, I switch off my phone because the distractions are now more than the work itself. So for example, parents, instead of forcing children to read hard copies, could find soft copy equivalents and say, okay, take this your phone. I want you to go to Wikipedia, go there. Read about the history of Benin from Wikipedia, summarize it.
Okay.
Because the child likes pressing phone, they will prefer to read it from a smartphone than to read it from a book.
Yeah.
Okay? So we need to adapt, make them love it. I'll give you an example. Reading is not something that is natural. It is learned. I developed the desire to read from my father. There's a research that says that people develop reading ability from their immediate society. My dad was always reading. I just saw that he read newspapers, and when he dumps it, I'll go and start reading. Some parents do not read. In fact, there's a research that says that most Nigerians don't read. Now, if they don't read, they will pass it to their children. The children will not read too.
That's true.
So, because it's not natural. Speaking is natural. It's saying things is natural. Everybody likes to enjoy movies, for instance, but nobody enjoys reading like that, except you have been taught right from childhood. So what do? You find a way to tell your children the dangers of spending too much time on the internet, and then give them those work on their smartphones. You know, I'm a teacher. This is what I tell students. Before I start teaching, I'll write 10 things they can do with their phones. There's WikiHow, there's Wikipedia, there's Google. They have to download a book. Some of them don't know these simple things. And I say, when you type something, you type PDF, you get a digital format of the same material.
Yeah.
If these students are taught these things, guess what happens? They want to try it too. Most of them think the internet is only for social media. It's not their fault. It's because they've not been taught that there are other things they can do with the internet. So now that I do that to my students, guess what some of them are doing? Some of them chat me around 10 o'clock in the night and say, I just checked Wikipedia and I saw this. I said, good, you are not taking them to that place. And it's actually exciting when you read it from a screen. Okay, so that's what we should do. The job of the new teacher. The teacher itself should evolve away from the books, because the world has moved beyond that, and move to learning through the latest technologies, and try to solve the problem of hooking yourself up to a particular system. Facebook is just for information. It doesn't allow your brain to develop and think deeply. But if you want to read a material, I'll tell you, there are books on the internet, bigger books than the one you can ever have on hard copy. And then you can read them. It just takes a lot of practice. Just adapt to reading from the screen. And then you do it very well. So like I said, we must first of all assume that these students want to learn. They want to. If you want to go and check YouTube, check the amount of videos that people watch, how to do this, how to do that, how to do this. What is happening is that people prefer visual content than this type of content.
Hard copy.
Hard copy. Since you know that, you evolve, you adjust your teaching to that style. So that tell them, like for instance, you can do a video of yourself teaching, and then you can simply call illustrators to help you put some props. And so that when you are talking, they can see it. If you are explaining a concept nowadays, if you check YouTube, you can see inflation. You just show a simple icon there and show something.
A slide.
A slide or something. People enjoy things in visual content nowadays. Like I said, we need to evolve. Okay, but there's another problem too. The problem of copyright. Okay, the cost of producing material now has increased compared to the past because of many things you need to put for it to be standard. Okay, now you have to first of all buy data. Two, you have to create the technology. You have to create the videography work and things like that. So when you do that, where will you get your money from? When people can just simply press and download. So we must upgrade our copyright laws to include what we put on the internet, so that when people want to download something, they can put a small price
a price on it,
or something like that. We should evolve. Like I said, we should evolve. We can always be playing catch up. We should always evolve. Check trends. That's what sociologists do. Sociologists study what we call social change. When you see that a lot of people are doing something a particular way, you cannot be right taking them back. It means the world has moved towards that way. So it is unintelligent moving against the grain. You move with the grain. You check where the social change is not only in Nigeria, everywhere in the world, even in the US, they are complaining. Students don't read anymore. So it's a global phenomenon. So the purpose of creating this day is not to take us back to books, it's to take us back to learning. We must understand it's not books that we want. It's
a learning culture.
It's learning culture. So we must find a way to adapt knowledge to these new technologies so that it will be more exciting.
And I feel that speaking on social media can also be adapted to improve the learning culture, being that we have discussion groups on social media. As a teacher or as an institution, you can actually create groups where students can meet and interact. Because that is what is in trend right now, interaction. We don't want the teacher to teacher students learning. We want where students can actually give their ideas about a particular thing, because we are not dormant, so to say. We're in an age whereby we like to challenge ideas. You bring your ideas and I bring my ideas, and we wait and see
I think students can actually learn faster with this kind of method. You know, interactive learning. When you're a lecturer, you're not scared of your lecture. You know, there are some lecturers, once you're in class like this, that man has come, so we shouldn't talk or we shouldn't say anything. But when you are a lecturer and a student stands up and say, sir, you actually said something the other day. This is what I actually found out. And there is this interactive section,
yes.
you tend to see that the students learn and keeps it faster, and that's the reason why you have things called tutorials. Yes, interactive class, interactive section between students and co-students. When it's time for exam, you're like, oh, okay, let's form a group, and this group is being formed, and you find out that what your fellow students taught you, you get it more than what your lecturer actually taught you. So this brings to bear that Mr. Samuel, yes, as a lecturer in the University of Benin. Now, at what age do you feel children to start inculcating that habit of learning? At what age? Because we find some parents will be like, okay, he's just 2 years, so let's wait. He's still too young. Let's wait for he or she to get to school so the teachers will start doing their work. So at what age do you feel a child's development as far as brains, you start doing the ABCs, the 1, 2, 3, so at what age?
No, from the womb, teaching and learning and interaction should start.
Okay.
Then when the child is out, then it continues. Because the clapping, the touching, they are all part of the learning process. And of course, the way you talk to the child will enhance the way he or she is going to react. Is going to a large extent, is going to assist his, the development and the various interaction, the social interaction and all that. There are children that are very timid because of the way they were brought up. Yes, there was no touching, there was not, so they were just kept in the court, confined place, and at the end of the day, they don't interact as much as those. So the learning process should actually start from conception, and it continues. And the more the interaction, the more the ability of the child to understand, to see things, and to imbibe some of these things that he or she have learned.
Okay, and Destiny, as a teacher?
He nailed it.
Okay.
There's a funny story I read about a woman who was reading to her child in the room and always read a particular book to the child. It's not just a story, it's fact.
It's reality.
And then she kept reading to the child every evening before she sleeps. Okay, chapter 1, and then she was doing that. The day the child started talking, she was reading, and then she stopped, and then the child read the book to the end.
Wow.
I mean, when the child just started talking, and she was just reading the same thing, and then she got to one place and stopped, and then the child continued. The child has memorized the book from beginning to the end, starting from the womb. You got children here, even from the womb. So like I said, reading is something you inculcate in people, a desire right from childhood. Because once a child gets up to age 7, there's a guy called Sigmund Freud, who studied child development.
In psychology.
So the psychologist. He said at a certain age, he said, show me the boy when he's 7 years old, I'll show you the man. Most of the habits we develop as adults, we formed it before we got to 7. If by 7 years of age, a child has not inculcated the value of reading, you may have lost that child. And that's why as a parent, you encourage it when they are young. I give them problems to find out inside the book. There's a way to do it. You can simply carry the book and give it to the child and say, come, there's something I want you to get. He said, hey, look for it. You get it, I give you 20 naira. When you make it a fun thing to search for information, children will find it. They will find it. Like I told you, people want to learn really, but don't make it look lethargic.
Complex.
Yes, complex. Most parents pass reading culture on their children with cane. You should see, so people must read. That's why most of us don't have the reading culture. I have told my students, for instance, if you want to put me in prison for a lifetime, I will ask you for one thing: give me access to reading. I will enjoy myself. I'll be in the prison. But if you allow me to be in prison for 1 month and you stop me from reading, I will die quickly. Why? Because I love it. I love reading. I cannot just, I read voraciously. I read page to page. I just keep reading. I don't know. I'll read it, read again. So it has become a culture. Where did I get that from? Childhood.
Okay.
Childhood. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on television. I was raised a Jehovah's Witness. So you can imagine, I read book of Bible story, I read a lot of books before I turned
Awake and Watch Torah.
In fact, I read nothing less than 20,000 books before I turned 20. Books, I read the Bible page to page up to 20 times. I mean, just part of my religious experience. Now, I cannot live without reading now. It's a cultural thing. It's something you can inculcate quickly in a child. But as a parent, if you do not read, you cannot inculcate the value.
You can't give what you
Because,
don't have.
because children will, if you tell your child to read, your child is looking at you too.
Yeah.
You're not reading.
Or maybe you tell the child, go read your book and you're watching the
You're
movies.
watching without, you're wasting your time. The child copies what they see the parents do. That's why parents themselves should read. The best way to teach children how to read is to you read yourself too. When you are reading, invite them to join you in the book.
Okay.
You know, make it fun, make it part of family life. You know, I think that's where Nigerians need to get it right. We only read, we don't believe in reading per se. In fact, we even have words for people who read. We call them bookworms. We give them Yes, there's a negative stigma associated with somebody who reads. I mean, where did that come from? Now, when you do that, there are people in school who read, and then their own classmates, and you read too much, and then because of that, they will not read again. So we must make it positive. We must tell people the value of reading. It helps you, helps to articulate your views. It helps you to think about the world in a 360 manner. It helps you to interpret the world. In fact, make it sink into the head of your child. Listen, the quality of life you live is directly related to the amount of information you have.
In fact, readers are leaders.
Yes. When you're able to do that, if you tell people why they should read, you're able to sink that into them. It becomes second nature.
Okay. All right, so Felicia,
I
your
feel
words.
finally the purpose of reading is what we need to change. We need to change the fact that reading is all about read to pass an exam. Reading is part of self-development. When you read, you build yourself, you make yourself a better person, you acquire more knowledge, you know what is going on, what is trending. You are able to speak when others are also speaking because you have knowledge of that thing. Like this morning when I woke up, I saw a word, 420. It was trending on the net and I was like, what is 420 all about? So I decided to go on the net to find out. This is where the internet comes in for us, youths. Yes. So I went out and I saw that, okay, this is what it actually means, and this is why people are using the word 420. So that is what reading does to a person. It makes you to be abreast of issues. So I feel we youths, it is up to us, even if the government and institutions decide to inculcate social media, it is still left for us to take advantage of it. Use the beneficial aspects of social media, not the negative aspects. There are groups, positive groups on education on social media. Join those groups, be part of those groups, and build yourself.
Okay, thank you so much, Felicia. Now to Sunny Love, to wrap it up, as a lecturer, first off, and also as a parent. So we want you to just do a summary of this, of the topic. As a lecturer, we know most of you come to the class and you just give out the words. In fact, sometimes you just come, okay, go read up so and so chapters and all of that. So as a lecturer, what do you have to say to your fellow lecturers out there?
Well, I think that reading as an important aspect of the education process should be more simplified, should be more adaptive. The emphasis should be actually on the learning, not on just trying to bury your heads on the books, but on what you are going to extract from the materials or whatever content that you are dealing with.
Okay.
So I want to advise that we should move according to this trend, and also ensure that our students are able to know that reading open up their minds and expose them to things they don't know. Just like the last speaker has said, it's going to enable them to take informed decisions because they'll be abreast about what is happening.
All right, so quickly now before we go, I remember there was a lecturer of mine. If you don't write like how many pages of, when she gives you your exam sheets, now you ain't going to pass that course. So can we have students writing just a simple word and the student gets his or her mark?
Of course, like as I said, the emphasis is not on the page, but your ability, your ability to pinpoint what you are supposed to put on the paper. Yes, it's not the volume. Yes, it's not the volume.
All right, that's the much we can take today as far as World Book Day is concerned and Copyright Day. I'll be seeing you again next week for another exciting time. Thank you so much, my panelists, and hope to see you again more time. All right, have a nice day and bye for now.